The Charlotte Hornets are coming off a rough few years. Injuries, new ownership, a new coach, off-court issues, bad drafting, a poor rotation, and some cancelled trades. But their 2025 NBA draft class might have injected some new, young talent that can help shift the culture and play style of this team going forward. The Hornets drafted 3 players in the top 35 of the draft, and all of them check some boxes. All of these players were very productive in college, all of these players have pretty high feel, and all of these players are efficient with the ball. Over the last few years, the Hornets' biggest weakness is having very few good decision makers. Their lack of high field players on both ends extremely limits their offense and what they can do. The Hornets have a lot of shot making talent between LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges, but none of it really matters if they can't get the ball in the right spot. LaMelo Ball is a high field playmaker, but Bridges and Miller are mainly shot makers, so instilling players who are good decision makers around them can amplify this entire team. Most importantly, Charlotte just didn't have that many good players. Their rotation was thin, and unless they were fully healthy, which was never the case, they were playing two-way or G League guys consistently. But I think their 2025 draft class changes that. No matter what, they're getting 3 players that are productive in college and should project to be good players. These players also fit the Charles Lee system of making quick, fast decisions with the ball while being efficient shooters like the Boston Celtics. The Hornets' first pick was at pick number 4, and they drafted Kon Knueppel, one of my favorite players in the draft, and despite being a freshman, he's ready to play in the NBA on day 1. Knueppel is arguably the best shooter in the draft class, and he's an extremely savvy on and off ball scorer with elite shooting skills inside and out. He's a pretty special spot up shooter, ranking in the 99th percentile, but he can also hit shots off of movement. Knueppel shot 38.8% from free and 90% from the line, so the potential to be one of the most elite shooters in the world is clearly there, while also being lethal off the catch. He has a beautiful one-motion shot, high follow-through, and his shot looks very mechanically clean. I'm very excited to see the level of shooting between him and Brandon Miller on the wings next season with the Charlotte Hornets. Now, when you usually have a shooting of this caliber, they have major shortcomings in terms of their size and usually their athleticism. But Knueppel is 6'6" with a plus wingspan, and he's a pretty solid athlete with a really strong motor. What made Knueppel worthy of a top 5 pick was really the fact that he doesn't have many weaknesses and can do pretty much everything at a competent level. For a Charlotte Hornets team that has a lot of erratic players and players who can play out of control, having a stable player like Knueppel on the wing is really huge for them. Since Knueppel is such a good shooter, he also draws hard closeouts and he's very good at attacking them and getting all the way to the rim. He attacks closeouts really well in a straight line, he has pretty good speed, but most importantly, Knueppel reads the angles and the floor really well when getting the ball off a closeout. All of this allows Knueppel to be a very effective and efficient player. There's not many wasted movements at all. He plays very well at his own pace, and he always seems controlled getting to his spots. Now what takes Knueppel to the next level is really his passing ability at the wing position. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, the Hornets lack good decision makers, and I think Knueppel is a clear good one next to LaMelo Ball. He's a very good passer out of screens, he has very good passing touch, and I think he can play like a guard-esque role for this Hornets offense. Knueppel is a solid athlete but not an elite one, so he leaves some stuff to be desired as a finisher. Despite being 6'6", he's almost always playing under the rim because he doesn't have the vertical leap or pop. But he still can get physical at times, and he has very clean footwork, so almost everything he does seems very calculated and has very few bad takes or decisions. Defensively, Knueppel is interesting. He has a lack of foot speed which will hold him back from being a primary point of attack option or a reliable NBA guard defender. But I'd still expect Knueppel to be a good team defender at the NBA level. He fights through screens, his IQ pops out defensively, he anticipates plays, and he's still 6'6" with a plus wingspan, so it's hard to attack him. Overall, I think Knueppel's lack of foot speed and vertical pop hold him back from being an all-NBA prospect. But I would find it very hard for Knueppel to not be a very good player at the NBA level. It reminds me of some Cam Johnson with some Denny Avdia processing. Liam McNeeley was their second first-round pick that Charlotte got in the Mark Williams deal that I'll talk about later. He's another sharp shooting prospect with some pretty good size, 6'6" with a plus 3 wingspan, so Charlotte's getting a lot of players who can hold up defensively with their size and have a high motor. McNeeley didn't shoot too well from free this year, shooting only 31%, but he projects to be a great shooter, shooting 37% from free on catch and shoot shots. The reason why his percentage is so low is because he shoots so many tough shots, he shoots at a high volume, but he's comfortable shooting from everywhere off of any type of footwork or speed. Between LaMelo Ball, Kon Knueppel, Brandon Miller, Liam McNeeley, and even someone like Trey Mann, there'll be an insane shooting talent on Charlotte. The Hornets were already one of the highest volume shooting teams in the league, and Charles Lee wants them to play a 5-out system. You can see a lot of inspiration from the Celtics and how quickly they shoot and how they're trying to move the ball, but I think they now have the personnel to do that. McNeeley is also a pretty solid passer, nowhere near as advanced as Kon Knueppel obviously, but he himself is capable of making those extra passes. Lots of quick swings off the catch, which is always needed skill in a 5-out or 4-out system that Charles Lee wants to run. McNeeley has a pretty good handle and can create some space with a quick first step, but again, I would more expect him as an off-ball player in the NBA. What I love most about McNeeley is how constant his motor is off the ball. He constantly is trying to find open spots, and most of the time he does. He has great spatial awareness and relocation skills, and I really think that him and Kon Knueppel can really change this offense. The combination of shooting that they both bring, along with the high IQ and their natural feel of where to be on offense, is going to bring a new light to the Charlotte offense. McNeeley's a pretty limited athlete defensively, but again his constant motor and frame gives him a solid floor of at least being a capable defender. And I do think that's something that Charlotte's going to have to address long term. Most of their core and the players that they drafted today aren't really that good of defensive players, so I think long term they're going to have to get some more defensive pieces to really make all of this work. Now earlier in the night, the Charlotte traded Mark Williams to the Phoenix Suns. Mark Williams had injury concerns, a poor motor defensively, and it made a lot of sense for Charlotte to move him after the failed trade with Los Angeles at the trade deadline. Considering Mark Williams only had 1 year left on his contract, he had a poor motor defensively and lots of health issues, getting any value for him, let alone 2 firsts, is really good for the Hornets. And ever since they got the new owner change last year, I feel like the Hornets front office has made a lot of good decisions. Trading Gordon Hayward for Trey Mann, taking in Nurkic and others to get extra draft pick, and now this draft class as a whole. Obviously trading Mark Williams left a clear hole at center, and they addressed that at pick number 34. Kalkbrenner was another guy I had top 20 on my draft board just purely based off production, and he averaged 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks, while also showing some capacity to shoot at 7'1", 260 pounds. He has a huge frame and wingspan at 7'6", so he's just a wall inside. He's definitely not the most fluid athlete and isn't explosive, but he moves well enough to cover a lot of ground defensively just with sheer size. At the college level, his team was 10 points better defensively when he was on the floor. He's going to be an extremely good drop coverage big in the NBA for a long time. The one main concern with him is that he won't be versatile at all defensively because he can't play in space and he doesn't have enough athleticism. Getting a big who can play drop coverage at a high level in this range is incredible value. Offensively, his pure size will make him an insane play finisher. He shot 70% off of screens in his senior year. He sets really good screens and he just has a very clean way of finishing at the rim and playing for subtle contact. His shooting isn't something I'd bet on too much, but he shot 34% from free his senior year, 70% from the line, so he clearly has some shooting touch at 7'1". And I think all of these unique skills makes him a very intriguing target, especially this late in the draft. Now long term, the Hornets probably are going to swing higher on a big, but for now I think this is a great bet and I think it'll be good for them in its time here. Now Sion James is the only guy in the draft class I'm not overly high on. But he still has a capable role in the NBA potentially. If James's jumper is real, shooting 39% from free as a senior, 29% the year before, he'll very clearly have a shot as a 3-and-D combo guard in the NBA. His defense and screen navigation is very impressive and I think he's the best defensive prospect that they drafted. But I still think that the lack of natural offense for him could hold him back from ever becoming a real NBA player. But if his shooting does continue to develop, maybe we're looking at a DMC Melton type of player as a combo guard who can play off the bench, play good minutes, and potentially be another good player in this Hornets rotation. And again, like I've said in the beginning of the video, that's the most important thing. Can the Hornets get more bodies that can be good, reliable players for them? And I think they potentially got 4 of them in this draft. If you guys enjoyed this little breakdown, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe, put a like on the video, and maybe comment any thoughts about the Hornets or anything NBA related, and I'll happily respond. I'll be making a lot of draft content over the next few weeks, so if you want to see more, you can subscribe to the channel and make sure to turn notifications on. I appreciate you guys for listening to my breakdown. I'll see you all next time.